We have discussed what is pollution, what are pollutants, what are primary pollutants, right? So today or now we are going to discuss uh, pollution. What are the sources and ill effects caused by carbon monoxide and oxides of nitrogen, and how to control the pollution of carbon monoxide and oxides of nitrogen. The sources of carbon monoxide, it is represented by the chart over here. So the main source of carbon monoxide is 42%, that is because of road transport. So and almost 45% is because of smelters and primary metals, and smaller almost 7% is because of miscellaneous and residential, and smaller contribution is due to other industrial sources, but major contribution is because of road vehicles, that is automobiles, smelters, and residential. This is the major contribution. Other thing is minor contribution. So other than this, how is your how what are the other sources? Let us see. This is the graphical representation. Let us see what are the other sources. The natural source of carbon monoxide is oxidation. Carbon monoxide is formed due to oxidation of methane, decaying of vegetable matter, and forest fire. So forest fire is major source, natural source of carbon monoxide. So anthropogenic source. What is anthropogenic source? By human. Right. So anthropogenic source is due to incomplete combustion of fossil fuels. This carbon monoxide is one of the major pollutants present in automobile exhaust gases. So reaction of carbon dioxide with carbon at high temperature also produces carbon monoxide. So when carbon reacts with oxygen at higher temperature, it produces carbon monoxide, or carbon dioxide dissociates to give carbon monoxide and oxygen. These are the reactions. So these are the anthropogenic sources. So these are this is obtained, this is by fossil fuels, this is by this is residential, right? But this is obtained, this carbon dioxide with carbon high temperature also produces carbon monoxide. This is obtained in industries. So what are the ill effects? So if the carbon monoxide percentage is less than 10 ppm, it is allowed level is 10 ppm. If it is more than 10 ppm, it causes various ill effects on human beings. So if concentration is more than 40 ppm, then it affects human beings metabolism. So if when inhaled, it mixes with hemoglobin. So when you inhale carbon monoxide, the human blood or hemoglobin is having more affinity towards carbon monoxide than oxygen. So when you inhale oxygen and carbon monoxide, hemoglobin attracts more towards the carbon monoxide and forms carboxyhemoglobin, so than oxyhemoglobin. So as you inhale more and more carboxyhemoglobin, you will faint, and finally it leads to headache, and finally it leads to death. So exposure to higher concentrations of carbon monoxide leads to headache, fatigue, unconscious, and finally it leads to death. So poisoning of carbon monoxide is serious hazard in India, where biomass fuels are used for domestic heating in badly ventilated homes. So biomass, that is nothing but your fossil fuels are going to heat badly ventilated, where the carbon monoxide cannot be escaped into the atmosphere. So because of that, what happens? Carbon monoxide is accumulated inside the house. So when you inhale more of carbon monoxide, it leads to headache, it leads to breathing problem, and finally it may lead to death also. So how to control? And automobiles also will give carbon monoxide. We're burning fossil fuels, right? So this can be controlled. The emission from automobiles can be controlled by passing the carbon monoxide into the catalytic converter. When you pass the exhaust of the automobiles to catalytic converter, the catalyst platinum and rhodium present converts the carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide. So to some extent, you can reduce the carbon monoxide pollution. So next, instead of depending on the automobiles, you can depend upon renewable energy. So renewable energy is also one of the alternate for fossil fuels. So instead of depending on fossil fuels, you can depend upon renewable energy. So this is by this you can reduce pollution, or you can control the carbon monoxide pollution. So oxides of nitrogen is also another pollutant. So let us see what are the sources of oxides of nitrogen. So the major source of oxides of nitrogen is on-road cars, trucks, trains, etc. Once again, automobiles. So carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, particulate matter, the major source is automobiles. So that is 58%. almost 10% is from industrial and other processes, and 29% is from stationary fuel combustion, and remaining 3% is from miscellaneous. So the major contribution for oxides of nitrogen is from road, that is automobiles, and other thing is your stationary fuel combustion. So naturally, how it is obtained? The natural source is burning of fossil fuels by nitrogen fixing bacteria. The nitrogen fixing bacteria for potatoes, you need more amount of nitrogen. The nitrogen fixing bacteria is rhizobium, so that also emits nitrogen, oxides of nitrogen to the atmosphere. And during lightning, in rainy season, during lightning, nitrogen and oxygen in the atmosphere combines together to form NO, nitrogen oxide and nitrogen, which further gets the oxidized to get nitrogen dioxide. So this is also one of the few of the reasons naturally, so natural sources. Then what are the anthropogenic source? So anthropogenic source are nothing but once again your automobiles, and that is the internal combustion engine which operates at high temperature, that is your automobiles, and your paper, filter, fertilizer plants, and explosive industries. So automobiles, fertilizer industries, paper industries, explosive industries. So these are the four major anthropogenic source for your source of your oxides of nitrogen. So what are the ill effects caused? Any pollutant causes, mainly damages the lungs. It causes it affects the bronchitis. Later it causes irritation, it causes tuberculosis, and it may lead to cancer also. So the main ill effect is it causes eye irritation, it causes respiratory problems, produces acid which causes induced irritation and lung cancer, causes acid rain which damages old monuments and buildings like sulfur dioxide, and this also causes acid rain. So the bicarbonate formed is washed away by leaving discolored surface, which is referred as stone leprosy. So one of the major reason for stone leprosy is acid rain. For acid rain, main reason is sulfur dioxide and oxides of nitrogen. So how to prevent? So once again, one of the major source for the anthropogenic source is automobiles, right? So the exhaust of automobiles. So you're going to fit the catalytic converter. When you fit the catalytic converter to the exhaust of the automobile, the oxides of nitrogen enter into the catalytic converter, and it will come out as nitrogen and oxygen. To certain extent, this catalytic converter will prevent the pollution of oxides of nitrogen. The platinum and rhodium catalyst present in the catalytic converter will oxidize the NO2 to nitrogen and oxygen. To certain extent, we can control this pollution of carbon monoxide, carbon monoxide and oxides of nitrogen by fitting catalytic converter to automobiles. So this one catalytic converter minimizes two pollutants present in the atmosphere. So whether it is carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, mainly it causes lung disorder. So as much as possible, we are supposed to minimize the use of automobiles in individual automobile and supposed to use public transport. So already everyone are using single transport. So instead of using that, if we depend upon public transport, we can also contribute from our side for green energy to a certain extent. Thank you.